and I have it with heartaches, and never the fear I've dealt with despair. And I ran through the tears. I can't stand for falling down.
Hey everybody, so we're going to keep these concert videos coming. Pull the curtain there. Anyway, so also I talked about Pearl Jam already. In May, pretty much just days after the Pearl Jam show, me and the whole family went to see Wilco here in town in Charlotte at an amphitheater that I'd never been to before. Yeah, it was Wilco. It was great. I've talked about Wilco enough recently. I've talked about Wilco enough on this channel, so I'm not going to get into depth about that show. But it was great. The whole family went. We like taking the kids to shows when we can. All right, what was the other show that I went to? Well, I went to see Elvis Costello and the Imposters. He is doing a tour. I guess it's over now. But he was doing a tour where he was playing all of his old stuff. All the early Attractions material and the first album as well. I was not going to miss this. I'd never seen Elvis Costello before. Kind of one of those that I wish I'd seen maybe, you know, in the early 2000s or so. So I made a point to see this one. It was at the Peace Center in Greenville. The Peace Center is a wonderful theater. Sounds amazing. I've seen a few shows there over the years. Now, my wife was supposed to go with me. She had grad school class, and we didn't know her schedule when I bought the tickets. So because she had class, she couldn't go. So I just decided just to go by myself. It was lovely. It was really good. Now, the band, impeccable. Steve Naive, especially, is still just an absolute madman on the keys and the synth and all the huge setup that he has over there, the organ. Everything is just really cool. Elvis, now he's had a reputation, I think, over the years of not necessarily being sloppy, but I think what happens is he gets kind of bored and he will just take the band in directions and just on the fly just play a song, and not like a dramatically different time, but he'll just kind of speed things up and sometimes like slow things down. And he plays these kind of weird, like jazzy progressions on his guitar in the middle of the song. And it can sound a little wonky. And so he's had a reputation of doing that over the years, from what I've heard. So imagine that on top of being his age, you know, and everything. So at times, I thought his vocals sounded a little off. He was still the consummate showman, don't get me wrong. Very engaged with the crowd and everything. It wasn't like he was just going through the motions. I didn't feel that. I heard everything that I would want to hear from him, and certain songs were definitely better than others. But I thought it was really great. He also had like a small section where they kind of did like an acoustic setup, and that was really cool. That was really cool. He really let his voice shine there. There was one point he got out into the crowd, walked through the entire crowd, and then brought two people up from the back and sat them in the front row. And those seats were empty. That was probably planned, you know, but still, who cares? Really cool when bands do stuff like that. Like, you know, you don't get that kind of treatment at a lot of shows anymore these days. So really, really cool. Glad that I checked that one off. Because Elvis is a pretty big one for me, and that might surprise a lot of people, because I don't know why I've just never, except when I did my favorite all-time albums, you know, this one, oh, where is it? I don't even have it. Hold on a second. I only have the MoFi version of this now. I used to have another copy. This Year's Model by Elvis Costello is a top 10 record for me. Top 10. Huge. Love this album. We'll talk a little bit more about it maybe in a second. Yeah, I mean, I've just never really had much of a reason to talk about him before, I guess, in other videos. But yeah, Elvis is a big one. I'll just quickly go through what I do have. You know, My Aim Is True. I have that one. I have Armed Forces, which is another all-time fave. Trust, super underrated album. Of course, Imperial Bedroom. And I actually bought this in the early 2000s when I wasn't buying like a ton of records. When I wasn't buying a ton of records, but occasionally, you know, if I was in a spot that was like selling them, or like a thrift store or something, if I saw something interesting, I would buy it. So I bought, you know, this copy of Imperial Bedroom. I have Punch the Clock. Yeah, it's kind of a nasty, but this one I inherited from a record collection from a coworker. Blood and Chocolate, King of America is just a masterpiece. This album, one of his best by far. Indoor Fireworks, might be my favorite Elvis Costello song, maybe. And then, yeah, All This Useless Beauty, which I actually found in a bin at Lunchbox one time. Elvis Costello and the Attractions, a 90s record that you don't see that much. I've had other Elvis Costello records over the years that I've just, you know, you guys, I've talked about how I pare my collection down constantly. I don't feel the need to have everything. Like I had Almost Blue, I had Spike. Now this one though, this was the one for me. In the late 90s, I was really going backwards a lot in music. I was going back and I was filling in all the gaps of all the stuff from like the classic rock era into punk, into post-punk, you know, and I was in a real phase where I was into stuff that came out of CBGBs, plus, you know, UK punk and post-punk and stuff in the late 70s to early 80s. And that was really the first time that I really dove deep into Elvis Costello. I was still in college, And I wasn't buying greatest hits at that time. That was the key. Could not do greatest hits. I was buying all CDs then, so it was a lot easier. And they were still, that was a period where they were at some of their most affordable prices in that time period. So I would just get entire albums, like, you know, on CD. There was a reissue campaign happening at the time, and all the Elvis Costello records were coming out, and then they had extra tracks, or they had live tracks, rarities or B-side cuts or whatever. And this version of CD version that I bought of this year's model had a lot of stuff that was recorded between My Aim Is True and this record that would eventually end up on that B-sides and singles compilation that came out in the 80s. Another album that I used to have a copy of that I just decided to move along. And I couldn't get enough of this. It didn't leave my CD player in my car for a long time. It was just always on. And it had everything that appealed to me as a young kind of like, you know, 20, 21-year-old, you know, at that time. Probably at my most despicable at around that age, I guess, you know. Highly cynical, going through things with the opposite sex. Elvis just spoke to a lot of that with this record lyrically. Also, but just the energy of this. I mean, right out of the fucking gate with no action. Boom! I mean, just punches you in the chest. Maybe the greatest, like, side one, track one of all time. Not what a lot of people would call punk, but attitude-wise, by far punk. You know, the politics, and not even like just the direct politics. It wasn't an approach to politics like directly with lyrics. It was like using politics as metaphor for relationship songs. And this whole period right here, I mean, just insane. From 1977 to 1986, just one of the best runs ever, by far. He's an absolute legend, one of my all-time favorites. It's about time that I, you know, actually finally remarked upon that, and I'm just glad that I finally got to see him and the guys, you know, in concert. Pete Thomas, Jesus Christ, that guy. As drummers go, good Lord. Anyway, yeah, so that'll be it for this one. You know, kind of just a rambled mess. Elvis Costello. Yeah, hope everybody's doing well. We'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.